Hello, welcome to Inside the Industry Unfiltered with myself, Adam Smith. Very excited for today's guest. Now, today's guest is a man who's going to be popping onto the pod quite a lot. He's a regular co-contributor, and he's going to be on a lot of episodes. Today, I'm with Stuart Jones of Upload Agency. Stu, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I might be coughing a little bit in this, but apart from that, I had COVID a couple of weeks ago, and it's oh, here I go. See, as soon as I say
Just
it.
on cue. You feeling all right? Better now?
Yeah, no, it's fine. It was just a couple of days, a little bit of illness, but now this cough that just won't shift. But
Fingers crossed.
I'll struggle through.
We can always cut it out. Appreciate your professionalism and urgency to be on this pod. Now, as we say, you're going to be on this quite a lot. Obviously, This is a project that you're involved in as well. It's a podcast that's done with Upload's involvement, of course. For anyone that doesn't know who you are, which there are shockingly some people who don't know who you are, most of the listeners, tell us who you are and what Upload is, because I'm going to big you up here. You are agent to some of the biggest superstars, social media stars, influencers that exist in this country. You put on some of the biggest events, biggest merchandise deals. You are absolutely everywhere. And within the industry, you are known by absolutely everyone, which is why we're going to get you on quite a lot, to be fair. And we're actually going to do a separate pod talking about what an agent is and what you do. But for this pod, just give us a little breakdown of who you are and what Upload is.
Yeah, so Upload Agency is a talent management agency that I formed, bedroom built business, built it on my own, started it 9 years ago now. We started from day one, luckily, as the business management team for the Sidemen. I knew them from a previous job and they needed a bit of help, so I quit my job, set up Upload. And then since then, we're a full service talent management agency, again, independently owned. So we look after the Sidemen and lots of other people within the kind of male audience, sports, lifestyle, gaming space, the Beta Squad being the other huge stars that we represent, Chunks, etc.
He's doing all right, isn't he? Chunks.
He's not doing bad, is he? He's
Great
not
guy.
doing bad. He's absolutely smashing it. And then, we work with obviously Philly as well.
Yeah.
And then right through to people like Zach Alsop and others as well. So we manage their commercial activities, I guess, and bring opportunities to them. But then we also have an events company. So we're obviously formed the Influencer Boxing, which we're going to talk about today. The Sidemen FC charity matches, we've done 5 of them. We've done some consumer shows and other bits and bobs. And we've, right the way through to, we've built a podcast studio, which is kind of handy for this.
Yeah.
So we're a full service agency. And that's us.
It's a good point you make there, because you're going to be on this quite regularly. We're going to do separate episodes, one about Upload Agency, how you negotiate brand deals, working with the likes of KSI, Chunks and all that. We're going to do another episode talking solely about Sidemen Charity Match, because you've given me some stories which have never been told before about how that started about. This one, we're going to talk about YouTube boxing, because we've got JJ's fight coming up, of course. And you were instrumental in starting the very first YouTube boxing fight and help catapulting it to where it is today. So this episode's all about YouTube boxing. So obvious first question, how did it all start? What were the first conversations and what was your involvement in that?
So it started at the old Sidemen house, which was I can give away where it was now, because none of them live there. Down in kind of Orpington way, south of London. And I was going. I'd regularly, at least once a week, go round to the house, just because none of them answer their phones. And so the best way to get stuff done is to go and see them. And then we'd sat in the kitchen, and Joe Weller had posted up an Instagram post about his fight that he'd had with Theo Baker.
Yeah, mouthful. Yeah.
And JJ just turned around and goes, "I'd love to knock him out." And I jokingly said, "Well, let's do it. Let's build an event." And he was like, "What? Can we do that? Could you do that?"
So this is you and JJ just sat in the kitchen,
just
around
in
the table,
kitchen.
Really casual chat. At this point.
And I was like, "Oh, don't see why not." And kind of probably lied a little bit. He was like, "Can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah." Of course, I never run a boxing event in my life, but going back to the old Richard Branson quote, which I kind of live by now, which is, if someone asks you to do something you don't know how, say yes and go and learn. So that's what we did.
Yeah, interesting.
And then went on a really weird, unconventional route into kind of finding out how to do the event.
Go on, what was that?
Well, we ended up in Albert Square with Max Branning.
Right.
So
that is an unusual route, yeah.
Yeah, so Jake Wood and Spencer Oliver, who the boxer Spencer Oliver and Jake Wood, who plays Max Branning, they had at the time a celebrity boxing, white collar boxing, where lots of...
I know Jake quite well, I know all about this,
Yeah. So like, I don't know, Heavy D was fighting in it, Wayne Bridge, I think, was fighting in it, and a bunch of others. So the first thing that I thought was, okay, well, they must know about all the insurances that you need to do and stuff like that, so I need to get a hold of them. And I actually knew Heavy D because I'd met him at Havy Bellew Boxing at an after party and exchanged numbers, and obviously, sadly, he's passed away now. And I thought, I'll give him a text. I was like, can you put me in touch with Jake and Spencer? I want to ask him a few questions. So he put me in touch with them, and had a quick chat with Spencer, and he said, right, Jake said, come down to Albert Square and we'll have a chat. So I went into Albert Square. We genuinely sat in the Queen Vic and discussed how we're going to build the event.
Wow. And when you talk about how to build an event, just give us an insight into what goes, like all of the different aspects that go into putting on a boxing event.
So first and foremost, before anything else, it's like, okay, how do we do this safely?
Yeah.
Because we're putting on an event where people are going to punch each other in the face.
Yeah, great point.
So can we get them insured? Is it feasible to put the event on, get them insured, so if something goes wrong, then we're obviously covered. So that's the first thing. And then it's obviously the ring, the seating, everything. So we earmarked the Copper Box Arena to be the first place because it was just kind of the right size that we thought that we could easily sell it out. It was quite a tidy, compact venue. So we approached them, got through to them, got some availability, and then I just asked them, I said, have you got any seating plans at Matchroom in Queensbury at this venue? And they were like, well, do you want to have a look at this? I was like, brilliant. I just stole it off of Matchroom.
So you're just doing what, if it's not broke, don't fix it?
Exactly, because I didn't know how to build a boxing event, so it's like, well, if Matchroom do it this way, I'm just going to copy them. Yeah. No shame at all.
Very honest.
Yeah, so and then Spencer Oliver, he just introduced me to all the right people. I was like, right, Spence, who does the rings for Queensbury and stuff? He's like, that's a guy called Mike Goodall. He's an absolute legend and an older guy that's been doing it for years and years. So I phoned him up. I go, right, we need a ring, we need this, we need that. He's like, no worries, PA. And it was just a case of finding who, because the boxing industry and space is so insular. It's like a travelling community.
Yeah, everyone knows each other. Yeah.
So it was just finding all the people that do Matchroom in Queensbury and then pulling them all together, giving them the Matchroom floor plan that I'd stolen, and saying we're going to do this.
But then there's ticketing, safety, there's stewarding, there's promotion. I mean, artwork, social media integration, press conferences. Were you involved in all of that?
Absolutely everything from front to back. I mean, as much as I'd like to say it's really hard work to hire a stadium and stuff, you hire it kind of turnkey with the standard stewarding, crowd control and stuff, and they kind of take care of the ticketing. You obviously have to price them right to ensure that you get a sellout, but you maximise. But it's it's not the hardest thing as long as you copy a blueprint, which is what we did for the first one, just to make it as easy as possible, because obviously Matchroom have done hundreds of
so you know that what they're doing is they're onto a winner there. But what I'm getting at is at that point, from JJ just standing in his kitchen or sitting, I don't know whether he stood or sat, it doesn't really matter, does it? But whether he's standing, sitting, crouching, whatever, in his kitchen with you, having a chat. You had never done an event like this before, because obviously I remember watching that. What was it? 8,000 watching the arena. It was streamed, millions of views online as well. So there's a lot that went into that from a logistical standpoint, but also from people that weren't in the venue as well. So you had no experience when he said that.
No,
I mean, were you not a bit anxious and nervous about whether or not you could pull that off at the time?
I mean, at that stage, we'd done the first charity football match at St Mary's, so I'd had a bit of experience in terms of doing a football match, but for a boxing, I've always just kind of lived by that mantra of look, if don't reinvent the wheel. If someone's already done it, copy their blue and done it well, just copy them. There's no shame in that.
But with the first football match you've done then, as an example, and this is another pod we're going to talk about, because you've got some amazing stories that haven't been told about Sidemen charity football match. But the first game you did, as an example, you had never had any experience of event manager. You were solely working as an agent You had no experience in event delivery prior to your first event.
So I guess a very loose part of event delivery. My previous job, I was sales manager for a company that run the Insomnia Gaming Festival.
Yeah.
So that is an event, but I wasn't really involved in the logistics and kind of that side of it. But I actually poached an event director that used to work for them, that used to work on the Insomnia Gaming Festivals, that works on most of our events now as well, just as a wise head to kind of pull everything together as well. So yeah, just brought in the right people that knew what they're doing, and then just learnt really quickly.
Let's talk about the first fight you were involved in then. Joe Weller v KSI, Copperbox Arena. How real was that beef between them at the time, you think? Because obviously YouTubers are so good at selling fights and things like that. And there's a lot of split opinion on social media. You're the perfect person to answer that. Was it real beef between Joe and KSI? Was it enforced for cameras? How do you sort of look back at that?
So talking about events, actually, so we had the first Upload Festival, which was another thing that we did, like this consumer show at Tobacco Dock, and we did the press conference there. The short answer is it was so real, the beef between them. So there was not a tiny bit of it that wasn't real, to the point where the press conference, we had it at Tobacco Dock at the Upload Festival that we were doing before.
And it kicked off at the press conference,
before.
So that's not you as the agent going, do you know what? If you kick off, it will sell a few tickets.
No. If you watch the clip of it, you'll see me catch a table. Now I can tell you.
I actually do know the clip you mean.
Now
you sound quite proud of that.
Well, yeah, I saved some kid's life. In my mind, I'm gonna apply for a medal or something, maybe for bravery.
Well done, you.
Thank you. Yeah, no, but in all seriousness, though, I did catch a table. It was. Before the press conference, we had to keep them completely separate. So Liam Chivers, who at the time was KSI's manager, he's not anymore, but for that time he was.
Yeah.
So me and him were like, they're going mental at each other backstage before the press conference.
Yeah.
So we're having to take one each. I was like, okay, I'll take JJ, you take Joe, because he also managed Joe, and I think still does. So pulled them to separate parts of the building. And we're like, look, there's so many kids out there, you cannot kick off. You've got to, let's keep it clean. Let's not blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we all know what happened. It went absolutely mental. So that wasn't planned at all. And throughout, their beef was 100% legitimate.
Is it part of you buzzing, though, inside? I know, obviously, safety comes first and you don't want anything, untoward going on. We all stand by that. And obviously, what I would say, as well as they've got responsibilities, role models with a younger audience. But is a part of you, as the agent who's trying to sell the fight, thinking this beef is good for ticket sales, is good for streaming numbers, is a part of you thinking this is going to be good for the numbers?
Yeah. Of course. Not at the time. At the time, and again, going back to that clip, you'll see the panic on my face.
Yeah, okay. So in the day, there's not a percentage of you thinking that, but when you sit the numbers back and a week later,
or even kind of straight after. I mean, we'll move on to KSI Logan Paul, but the press conference there as well, it was absolute chaos outside. There was kids on the roof throwing bricks down at Shannon Briggs's car and Logan Paul's car. His dad got chased down the road and stuff, and it was just absolute chaos. Luckily, nobody got hurt. So almost straight after that, I'm on the phone to Logan's manager, and Logan's manager was going mental at me. He's going, "What the? I don't. Are we allowed to swear on this podcast?"
I don't know. It's a good question. That.
Yeah.
What? I'll go for the producer.
I'll say we're not. We'll keep it family friendly. So Logan's manager going, "What the hell is going on here?" And I'm kind of laughing about it, going, "No one was hurt. This is brilliant." But you've got to push to the line, but you can't. There's a fine line between great promotion and then
as you said there, it's interesting what you're picking up on what you said there at the time. Obviously safety is paramount important. You're not thinking about that at all. It sounds like the press conferences are quite a stressful moment for you because
100%.
Because a lot of what happens is completely out of your control, right?
They're probably the most stressful part of the whole operation,
really, because
anything can go wrong in the in the press conferences. Once they're in the ring, that's it. Your job is done, sort of thing.
Is the fight night actually, I wouldn't say easy, but a relaxed part of, because I've seen you at fight nights.
Yeah.
All your work's done, is it, on fight night? So you can relax a little bit, can you? Or have you got such a vested interest that you're in the fight with them, so to speak?
Yeah. I mean, with K, I mean, I like Joe and get on with him, and we've worked with him in previous years and stuff. But I was definitely Team KSI. Obviously, for Logan Paul, definitely Team KSI. So I don't enjoy the fight at all because we've gone through this whole thing together for JJ to win.
Yeah.
So the first fight, I didn't even watch much of it. I couldn't watch it. I was just, it was too nervous to watch JJ's fight. So I was kind of right at the back of the arena. I wasn't even ringside and
wow,
not watching much of it either.
Did you ever think it would get to this stage? Because we're looking at it now. I mean, like Mayweather fighting Paul, for instance. I mean, like YouTube boxing has got to such a level now where mainstream boxers are being offered the chance and considering the chance because of the financials and because of the eyes and ears on it. That it has taken over, hasn't it? YouTube boxing has got to a phenomenal stage. Did you ever think it would get that way when you were sat in the kitchen with KSI, or was it just a case of let's get event one done and see where it goes? Because it is incredible how far it's gone.
To be honest, I think with the KSI v Weller, we kind of knew that it was going that he was going to go after the Pauls after that.
Did you? Was that planned? Was that something you said as...
It wasn't planned, so to speak, in terms of it wasn't a specific roadmap. Right. But it'd been, we'd mentioned it. Oh, wouldn't it be great to fight Logan, etc. So, it wasn't calculated that would be the roadmap. But I kind of always assumed that after KSI v Logan, that would probably be it. Maybe it would be KSI v Jake.
Did you?
And to be honest, I still kind of think that. The only thing that's kind of changed my mind since 2018 is Tommy Fury's kind of come into the mix as well and kind of put himself in there. But I think if you take KSI and the Pauls out of influencer boxing, you don't have influencer boxing.
Why do you say that? Is that just because they are the two biggest and any other fight is not going to be on that level?
It's a business. You've got to make money, you've got to sell pay-per-view, you've got to sell arena tickets. If you look at pretty much every event that didn't involve KSI or the Pauls, the tickets are at the most 2,000 people in the arena. Yeah. Whereas as soon as you put KSI into something, 20,000 sellout, done. So it is the power of the Pauls and JJ that really kind of elevates it to the next level, which is why I've always been, and I've probably come across like I'm bitching or salty or something. I'm not. I'm just a very interested observer as someone who played a part in founding the sport, that the business model of it, the longevity of it, is still based so heavily around KSI and Jake Paul and Logan Paul.
And that is that the Paul with KSI? I mean, obviously you work close with KSI. Yeah. Is that the Paul that KSI has with anything he does, as someone that knows him so well and has worked with him on so many things? Yeah.
Look, he obviously released a documentary called Can't Lose, and that's his whole ethic, and genuinely, I believe he's going to beat Tommy Fury. Genuinely, I mean, Tommy Fury is not a bad professional boxer. He's not going to be a world champion. He might get up to British champion level, but there is something about JJ and his focus and his drive, and the Pauls, to be fair to them. That when they put their mind to something, they just get there and do it.
I know exactly what you mean, actually, because we're going to touch on the KSI Tommy Fury fight in a bit, because I want to get your deep thoughts on that. But I was lucky enough to work on KSI Logan Paul fight 2 in LA at the Staples Center. I was part of the presenting team for Sky. It was amazing for me to be presenting that and interviewing JJ afterwards, ringside, after he was victorious in that. And it was like, and I've done and seen working with you and him before. I've just got this amazing work ethic from him, even when I was interviewing him. And obviously, I was in LA for the whole week. So we were watching the workouts. We were at the press conference, just seeing the love that the Sidemen had for him and how close they are as a collective. I just got this immense work ethic, and it comes across in the doc that he wanted to be a rapper, he wanted to be a boxer, he wanted to be a YouTuber. It's like everything he puts his mind to, seems to turn to gold. But that's not luck. That's down to this drive that he has, and I imagine that he's always had that. And he's always someone for me that I think would just be successful in whatever he does because he has almost an unparalleled work ethic. Is that something you see as well?
Yeah, no, he is. He's a kid at the school that's captain of the football team, the athletics team, the cricket team, the hockey team, and then top set through everything, and just really annoyingly good at absolutely everything. The one kid that everyone else is jealous of, right? But it's not just about his intelligence. It is just his drive and just in his head that he cannot lose no matter what, and that's what drives him forward.
Yeah. Go on, let's talk about the KSI Logan Paul first fight then, because looking at it from an outsider, and I could be wrong here, and correct me if I'm, that seemed like that was the moment that really catapulted YouTube boxing to a different level. Would you agree with that, or did you look at the numbers from the Weller fight and think it was always going in that direction? Because I just remember that being massive, and I remember the KSI Logan Paul fight attracting the interest from outside of YouTube as well, from boxing fans, whether that was good or bad, but everyone seemed to be talking about it. What was it like sort of within camp and seeing how big that got?
Yeah, so I think from KSI v Weller, we obviously had our event at the Copper Box, and I think Eddie Hearn had one of his shows, but I think it was Chamberlain, a collie or something at the O2.
Yeah.
And there was more people in the Copper Box, more people watching the show than there was watching the Matchroom fight or that were in the O2.
Wow.
To the point that some, like Derek Chisora, was at our event rather than over at the O2 and stuff like that. So afterwards, I think there was a couple of weeks after KSI v Weller where everything was very quiet. JJ had gone on holiday and stuff, and then JJ just forwarded me Logan's manager's text message and a screenshot of saying, right, let's do this.
Just on WhatsApp, saying, let's get it on.
Yeah.
And how does that conversation go? Just to elaborate on that, KSI has messaged you, Stu Jones, going, this is the message, get it sorted, I want to fight Logan Paul.
Exactly, yeah. So we started speaking to Jeff, and at the time they had another guy called Paolo working for them. The worst people. I actually really like Jeff, Logan's manager.
When you say worst people, what, just hard to deal with because they had a lot of things in the contract that you wanted to...
Absolutely.
Give us an example if you can.
So if we skip forward to when we were going to sign the contract...
Yeah.
So brought Liam Chivers in as well, who at the time was KSI's manager. So we're working hand in hand with this, trying to get this deal done with Jeff and Paolo, who are on Logan's team.
Yeah.
We're sat there. To make this happen, we had to work on US time. So all of the meetings were happening at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning,
right?
Because they just wouldn't talk to us during the day in the US.
Not great for you if you're asleep.
No, exactly. So we're staying up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning when we get into the later stages. We've got a solicitor kind of looking at bits and bobs, but we're not overly asked about every fine detail of the contract.
Is it a big contract as well? There's a lot in it.
Yeah. There's a lot in it, but mainly because we're dealing with Beverly Hills solicitors,
right? Okay.
That are earning their. I mean, every solicitor, right? If they can make an amendment and charge another £500, they'll do it. So. But anyway, so we're right to the end now, to the point where we're about to pull the plug on them. And they're like, no, let's get on a call. Let's just run through the final terms and then we'll do it. It's like, okay. So, and this is at 2 o'clock in the morning, UK time. So we're sat there, and they're not on the Zoom call or the Skype call. I don't think Zoom was around then. I think that's a COVID thing, isn't it?
Either way, you're on a call.
So we're on the call. And they don't turn up, and we're literally sat there till about 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then all of a sudden, Logan Paul goes live on, I think it was Instagram or something like that, and he's in Vegas trolling JJ with a bit of paper saying sign the contract.
Wow.
And whilst me and Liam literally sat there at 3:30 in the morning waiting to sign off.
I think I remember that. It was an Instagram Live, wasn't it? And when he was saying, he was implying that KSI wasn't signing the contract
at that very time.
But you're saying at the exact same moment you're waiting for his people to sign the contract.
No, at that exact time that he was saying that, and I think that he was doing it, but I think he knew what he was doing, and he was kind of a bit of banter with us, I guess, because he knew full well that me and Liam, it was 3:30 in the morning in the UK, and me and Liam were sat there thinking, where are they? And in the meeting, and they've just literally Jeff, his manager, texted us back. I remember it. He's like, we'll be on in a minute. And I worked it back, and I was like, he was literally, because one of their cameramen, I went onto their Instagram and saw at the time that Jeff was saying, we're going to jump on a call in a minute. He was literally on the private jet from LA to Vegas to go and
film that.
to go and troll JJ, and it's like
wow.
And there was so much of that throughout. It's dealing with I don't want to make it about American people, but dealing with LA lawyers and American, I guess. LA, Beverly Hills stars and stuff is a completely different world to doing business with anyone else.
What sort of stuff was in the contract then that took such a long time to get signed? I mean, is it obviously? I imagine insurance is very important and the split of revenue and everything like that. But were there other things that we might not know that you'd think, what on earth is that doing in there, or anything like that?
Yeah, it was a lot of it's your standard boxing stuff that you'll always get. Who walks out first? Ring music, this, that, everything else. The ring music actually. That was one thing actually on fight night that Logan's team came in. I'm sat in the promoter's office, obviously stressed off my head trying to get the event, and they walk in with a lawyer present and say, "Oh, we're gonna." I can't remember the name, and JJ will kill me. I can't remember the name of the. I think it's On Point, one of his songs that JJ was going to come out to.
Yeah.
And literally Jeff walks in with his lawyer, that they brought their lawyer over with them as well, and says, "Yeah, Logan's going to walk out to On Point KSI."
Oh, so Logan was planning to walk out to JJ's ring walk, which you didn't know about until a minute before.
No, literally on the night. But they had the lawyer there as well, and I was like, "No, he's not." And they go, "Yes, he is. And if you don't, we'll sue you." And I'm just like, "He's not." And then I'm quickly looking through the contract just to sense check that I'm not going to get in trouble for.
Wow.
And
they've got a lawyer presence. Obviously, that's a stressful situation for you to be in.
No, exactly. And I've just.
It is me. Like I said, I bet fight night is the least stressful part.
I know. I've literally got a lawyer stood. I'm sat on the desk and I've got a lawyer looking right over me, and he's like, "You've got to do it because if you don't, we'll sue you." And I'm like, "What?"
So how did that get resolved then?
I just looked through the terms, and I was like, "There is nothing about walkout music." There's nothing about you having any ownership of the actual production. I was like, if you don't come out to what you want to come out, something sensible, then I'll pick the music. I was like, but it will not be what you want it to be. I'll make you look stupid. And at that point, they just walked off and went back to the changing room. So
that's quite a heated discussion there, I presume. You told that in a more polite way than it went down.
Yeah, it was. And this is the thing with with lawyers, especially Beverly Hills lawyers. If you show any weakness, then they're going to go after you, right? So that in the moment, I just had to kind of call their bluff and say, no, if you don't. And I think I was trying to think of something funny. I was like, I'll bring him out to Bar Black Sheep. That nursery rhyme. If
just a kid's nursery rhyme, just to
just to So that was that.
Why do you think they did that? Do you think that is just a way for them to get one over on you and KSI before the fight? What's the mindset behind that? And obviously bringing a lawyer was that just one of many things that happened on the course to get in that fight? I mean, what was it like dealing with the Paul brothers and their agents and their lawyers and that whole process?
There's never a dull moment. We certainly earn our money from working with them. They're just always trying to grab that extra inch out of everything and be intentionally difficult, which I get. They're not doing it to be dicks. That's just how they work.
Yeah.
But you're always second guessing, missing tons. And every call that we said we'd be on, we'd be at. Probably 8 out of 10 calls that their team said they'd be on, they wouldn't show up at. And we would, to get the deal done, certainly on the Team KSI side, we were the ones bending over backwards and making sure that the fight happened. So we would, if they're saying, we can only speak to you at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's like, okay, we'll speak to you at 3 o'clock in the morning then. There was not a time that they were on a call to us at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Interesting.
So, it was different, but it was a good experience as well. It set me up well for everything else we do at Upload Agency, because every contract negotiation now that we have moving forward is so much easier because the experience of dealing with them and how difficult they were and stuff, it just builds a bit of inner strength that you can take forward to other stuff.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, that. And what was your relationship like with the Paul brothers? Like, what do you think of Jake Paul? What do you think of Logan Paul? What are they like to work with? What do you think of what they've created? Just as someone who's been on the other side of it in Team KSI, I'm just intrigued to get your thoughts on those two.
I think, again, with Logan, when the fight was happening, we were playing the game. I was intentionally just winding him up, trolling him.
Was that beef between KSI and Logan then slightly more forced than the beef between KSI and Joe Weller, would you say? Was a lot of that, or was it genuine?
No, it was genuine. I think that there was a bit more mutual respect.
Right, okay.
but you can respect someone whilst also hating them, right?
Right.
You can kind of, whereas with Joe Weller, I don't think that JJ gave him any respect.
Right, okay.
So there was a bit more respect, but still absolutely, everything was legit. And the press conferences, we had to keep them apart, and we had to do things like, I don't know, make sure that they wanted to know where JJ was staying in his hotel. We're like, absolutely not, because it was obvious they were going to go and play up. And so it was absolutely genuine. And yeah, in terms of my thoughts of Jake and Logan, with Logan, I actually like him now as well. I haven't spoken to him for a couple of years, but what he's doing, you can't not respect it. He is the American KSI in terms of he can just jump into WWE and look like he's been there all the time. And
so again, like the respect I imagine that you have for someone and what he's built up.
Yeah,
you see parallels between Logan and KSI, I presume.
Absolutely, which is why they work so together. So well together with Prime and stuff. With Jake, it's a bit different. He's just not a likable character.
In what way? Why did you say that?
Just everything about him, I think. He's just.
And you're talking about having met him. You're talking about.
Yeah, especially when we met him. I mean, he was very difficult. He was kicking off about the size of the ring, for KSI v Logan, and really losing his rag over it but none of their team had asked what the ring size was going to be, so we just chose it.
So this is Jake Paul kicking off on the ring size for a fight he wasn't actually involved in. This was his brother's fight.
Oh no, he was on the undercard with Deji.
With Deji,
they both come in to view the venue and the ring stuff the evening before.
But obviously it's the same ring for the whole card is what I'm getting at. Yeah.
And they got in the ring, and Jake is going absolutely ballistic. He's like, Stu, what size ring do you call this? I'm like,
where's he from? The accent.
New Peckham or something like that.
So he's kicking off about the ring.
Yeah, he's kicking off about the ring. To be fair, Logan's going, why does it matter? He goes, it's fine. Yeah. But they're like, it says on the, because, and to be fair, it did, and this is the first time I'll admit this, on the plan, the floor plan, which I stole from Matchroom again.
Right.
Because why not? We're at Manchester Arena this time, even bigger, and the first thing I did was get a floor plan that Matchroom used and go copy that. But they, on their floor plan, I didn't even notice it, it said 24 foot on the middle, on the ring.
Right.
But there was no ring size in the contract, so we could be any size. Yeah. But we're like, the JJ, what do you want? He goes, I want a 20-foot ring.
Right.
I guess because Logan's a bit more rangy, he wants a bit more space to kind of move in and move out. So we got him a 20-foot ring, but we never changed that floor plan. So all they'd done, they'd not looked at the contract, even though they were sticklers and had done, the one thing they'd missed is a ring size. So they'd just looked at the floor plan and gone, 24-foot ring, yeah, that'll do. And they've been training the whole time for a 24-foot ring.
Right.
And so when they come in, and they're like, it's 20 foot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, it is. In reality, it was probably 16 foot because it was the Americans measure the ring from inside the post, from inside the actual ring, the ring mass, whereas UK measurements are generally post to post.
Right, okay.
So you lose.
So there is a slight difference between the two, yeah.
So yeah, he's going mental, and Logan's kind of chill about it. He's like, oh, whatever. And then Mike Magielk, I don't know how to pronounce his surname, was actually Logan's PA at the time. And he's going, what's going on here? So, I don't know what accent that is either.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jake was losing his rag, and then he was, and then he's asking us, he goes, and also when we come out, I want security guards either side holding up umbrellas and protecting me from people throwing things at me. And he was just, he was just difficult. But
right.
But with Logan as well, and I know Logan a few times was like, oh yeah, Stu runs crap events and stuff like that. The reason he said that was because his team didn't get involved at all. They didn't check anything.
So he's saying that directly about you and your events. Logan would say your events.
Yeah. So I think Logan on one of the podcasts, and Mike jumps up and goes, Stu's tactical planning abilities or something like that. And the actual reason they were so pissed is because the ring size. It's like, well, I'm Team KSI.
Yeah.
If you've got a matchroom fight, they have a duty to make it unbiased, I guess. For the rematch, DAZN owned the fight, so they have a duty to make it unbiased.
Yeah.
I'm KSI's business partner and KSI's promoter for this event.
Yeah.
I'm going to stack every card in favour of JJ that I can, unless they come and say no and try and negotiate.
It's in the contract, yeah.
So if they don't negotiate the ring size, JJ gets whatever ring size he wants.
Yeah.
In the dressing rooms, I said to him, I goes, by the way, I'm not doing anything in your dressing rooms. I was like, I'll look after JJ, you look after Logan. Here's the details of the operations team at Manchester Arena. You can dress his. Of course, their team didn't do anything. So he walked into an empty dressing room with no seats, no chairs, no TV, just literally almost like a prison cell. Whereas JJ was living life with sofas.
And is that a ploy from you? That's literally you're going, well, I'm KSI's team KSI. I'm going to make everything good for him. Unless there's something in the contract, Logan Paul's team has to deal with all of that.
Yeah, but also it kind of makes sense. So if I was to, we represent obviously a whole bunch of YouTubers and influencers, and I will make sure. My duty as a manager, I don't know if Chunks is on a shoot, I'll make sure that he's got his riders, that he's comfortable, that he's got a car there and back. If they're doing something significant, we'll go and look at the venue first and make sure that everything's right, like we would for when we do the charity match and stuff. And we thought, do you know what? They're so difficult to deal with. Let's just pass the problem to them and say, here, you sort your own team out. And they didn't, so he walked into nothing. So he probably was looking, thinking, this is really crap. I haven't even got any water in here. It's like, well, no, you haven't, because your team haven't done anything.
Yeah, it's on them. Looking back on the first fight, what was your reaction to the result? Obviously, it was a draw. What was your reaction to that? Because there was a lot made, wasn't it, of it being a draw?
Yeah, I think some people said, oh yeah, that you've just made it a draw so you can get a rematch, and it couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, if we were going to instruct judges and refs, which we wouldn't, and we never would, although Logan's team did suggest it early on, they were like, oh yeah, but what if we make the and it was only ever a passing comment, and it was never discussed any further about what if we make sure it's a 2-fight thing, and we're like, absolutely not, because JJ would never do that. He plays to win all the time.
So they were implying there that they wanted the first fight to lead to a second fight, effectively.
Yeah, but we always did. It was a 2-fight agreement. There's no secret about that, and people have seen the terms of the contract. But the draw was probably the worst result.
Why'd you say
lead
that?
Into a rematch.
Right, to get the right, okay, yeah.
Because I think you need that revenge or retribution storyline, and a draw is just a bit meh. And people naturally assume you've done that on purpose, so you kind of lose a bit of that spark. So actually, if we were going to instruct the judges, we would have probably said you have to pick a winner.
Does that wind you up when people say things like that, and you put your heart and soul into an event from, as you said, almost no experience doing it, to doing the security, the ticketing, the event planning, everything that comes with it, and then if people just say, oh, well, it's a draw because they want it to be a draw, which you know is not true. Does that wind you up with all the hours that you put into it?
Not really, because it was a good fight, and to be fair, a draw, it could have been a draw. It was a very over the course of all the rounds, I think it's 6 rounds, wasn't it? It was a very even fight.
Yeah, fair point. And then obviously rematch, LA, as I say, I was lucky enough to be there. You were out there. Again, similar question really, but just looking at the scale of that, are you sat there, because you were ringside, are you sat there going, I'm one of the individuals that has helped create this, because it was in the Staples Center, it was in Los Angeles, it was just phenomenal. And like, talk to me about some of the numbers for these 2 fights.
Yeah, I mean, it's so for Manchester Arena, we obviously sold 20,000 tickets. I think there was a handful of tickets left on the night. And 1.2 million pay-per-view buys. And then obviously Eddie come in and changed his mind pretty quickly about what he thought of influencer boxing when he saw the numbers, and kind of jumped in and brought DAZN along. And that's where we kind of stepped aside, because once it becomes a DAZN production, it's kind of all on them.
Right.
And obviously JJ having a manager at the time, he kind of run off with that to Eddie, so we kind of stayed away from that. And I just paid for myself to go out there and watch it ringside. And
was that nice for you actually not to be involved in the stress of the fight night, or were you still stressed because you're fighting the fight with KSI?
No, I was still stressed because I'd lumped a huge amount of money on JJ, and again it is. I think there's always been. With the boxing when he was fighting, which is why I couldn't even watch the first fight in Joe Weller, because all that was going through my head, not that I didn't believe that JJ would win, but I was like, if he gets memed or gets humiliated, gets knocked, knocked Spark out on the floor, that's my fault.
Is that going through your mind the whole time?
Yeah, which is why I didn't really watch much.
And do you think that then affects the brand deals that you get? I mean, I imagine it doesn't in real terms because he's still got a huge profile, but that you're thinking that affects every aspect of your management of that individual.
It's just more of a, to be fair, the brand deals and stuff like that didn't really come into it. It was more a personal thing, right, okay. Because I've got so much respect and care about the Sidemen and JJ so much that it was more, if he gets sparked out and gets splattered across the canvas, I've done that to him.
No because he wouldn't in the second fight as well, so there was a realistic chance that would happen as well.
Yeah, which I don't necessarily agree with the no head guards thing, and even nowadays it's for
safety reasons. Why don't you agree with that? You just think adds a layer of safety issues and concerns with that, do you?
Yeah, I mean they wanted no head guards. It was me that ultimately, as the the name above the door that said you're not fighting without head guards
on the first
for
fight,
the first one. So I mean there is lots of studies that actually say that head guards don't help as much.
Yeah,
but with 10-ounce gloves, if they got 16-ounce gloves on, it's a bit different because you can't pull the power that you can with a 10-ounce glove. But 10-ounce gloves and no head guards, to me, I wouldn't do that, and I still wouldn't do that to this day. If I was to do a boxing event, they'd be in 16-ounce gloves, so they can't get the full power.
Yeah.
Or they'd be in head guards.
And that's nice that you're looking at that from a obviously safety perspective and the respect that you have for your talent, I suppose, which is obviously. Yeah. Which is a very good way, and I think that's why you're so respected within the industry, is that you with a lot of deals that you do, you always put your talent first. I imagine there's a lot of occasions where you've spoken or you've gone with a big deal for I mean, I know you've told me a few, but you always put your client first before your own personal needs. Yeah, no,
100%, but that's how you build a longevity in a business as well.
Because a lot of agents would just go, well, this is 20% of a big brand deal, I'm going to tell my client to do that. But you've always said,
you've got to play the
all
long
of us
game.
here that actually you'll always go with any deal to your talent first before negotiating. Because that is quite rare, isn't it? That doesn't happen everywhere.
I think it is because there's so much money in the industry. If you're greedy, you can make a shed load of money in year one, but you won't be there in year two, year three.
Interesting.
I think with Upload and what we've built here, it's been built on honesty, and we'll never push talent to go for a deal because we want their commission, and if something's not safe, regardless of the money, we'll be like not doing it. You have to act with honesty, integrity in this game, and that's the way that you build longevity in your business. If you're dishonest, if you push people too hard, if you make it all about the money, then they'll just move on and go somewhere else. Yeah,
very interesting point, that. What's your relationship like with Eddie Hearn? Because obviously you alluded to it earlier. He was quite, I think I'm fair in saying he was quite sceptical of YouTube boxing at the start, but he soon quickly turned around. And again, I interviewed him on many occasions in the week in LA for the for the Logan Paul KSI fight. And he was very invested in that fight then.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's old Eddie loves a pound note, right? So
he said that to me actually.
No, it is. And I've never actually met him face to face because I didn't get involved in the DAZN negotiations because JJ had a manager then who rightly or wrongly kind of run off of it. That kind of goes back to what you just said there about longevity.
Yeah.
Funny enough, that particular person's not working with JJ anymore. It kind of run off with it and sold it to DAZN almost underneath our nose, which. But playing the long game, obviously, we ended up better off in the future. But with regards to Eddie, I mean, look, he's kind of I think he forgets he does so many interviews with IFL and stuff. I think he forgets what he says sometimes because one minute he hates it, next minute he loves it. Now apparently he hates it again. But that's because the deal's been done with DAZN without him, I guess, and it's not on him anymore. So yeah, look, I mean. Another promoter a couple of years ago, going back to the business plan, let's say one of the big three UK promoters, I spoke to about building influencer boxing, etc., and actually signed a quite a lucrative for me personally a consultancy contract about influencer boxing, and I spent my first 2 days just doing a bit of due diligence and come back with, unless we've got KSI, it's not going to work.
That was your consultancy. That was like first rule, you said.
Yeah. No, literally my first report that I did for this huge boxing promotion was unless we've got KSI, Jake or Logan, it won't work. And I didn't have to, but I said, so on that basis, let's cancel this retainer, keep your money.
And this is just to confirm this and elaborate on this. This is a company, a boxing company, would you like?
Yeah.
Employing you or giving you some money, which you say is quite lucrative, for your services in going into
to
YouTube
advise
boxing.
them to build.
And even though it's well paid for you, you've turned that down because you don't think what they're doing is right.
Exactly, yeah.
Or profitable. So not right is wrong, but what they're doing won't be profitable and won't be sustainable.
Exactly.
Wow.
Because, again, playing the long game, there's no... I don't want to take someone's money for... I think it was... I'm not going to tell you the amount, but it was 1 day a month consultancy for them.
It's easy money for you, I imagine.
Yeah,
for that. But obviously, if you think it's not worth your time...
I don't want my name against something that's failed.
Yeah,
we've did. That's really bad English. We've done 2 consumer shows, hugely successful.
Yeah.
We've done 2 boxing events, hugely successful and profitable. We've done 5 charity matches. A recent one, last one, we raised £2.4 million. We don't
amazing.
We don't get involved in stuff that isn't going to work, and so I wouldn't want to put my name to something just to take a few quid.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that is still my belief now, that the only business plan, the reason that only Misfits will succeed is because they have JJ.
Yeah, and that's KSI's obviously invested in Misfits. That's the boxing company that he works with. But you think that's the only one that will be profitable?
Absolutely, yeah. And
you say that very confidently as well.
Yeah, no, it's
because he's there, because it's plain and simple.
Absolutely, yeah. It's not even really up for debate. In my mind, and it is up for debate. That sounds really arrogant, but the numbers to me, as someone who's built a business model off of the boxing and done the due diligence, they just don't work, because if you If to do a boxing event, you've got to sell out an arena and you've got to sell pay-per-view. That's how you're going to make your money. Or you've got to have a broadcast contract with a DAZN and stuff. Yeah. But DAZN will want X amount of subscribers to sign up to make their money. The vast majority, probably 95% of the boxers that are fighting, will not sell more pay-per-view than what their fee costs.
Interesting.
So if you look at, I don't know, someone like FaZe Temper, for example, he will 2 million followers on Instagram, so he's probably going to charge $50,000 for an Instagram post. Just one single Instagram post that will take him 5 minutes to do or whatever. And I'm making the numbers up a little bit.
But you're basing that on the brand deals you negotiate for your talent with similar followers.
Yeah. So say $50,000. He probably, in his last fight, and this is complete speculation, probably got paid $50,000, if that. And he's gone training for 3 months, given up everything, had to pay his trainers because these promotions aren't paying people's training fees.
Might have a nutritionist,
and
personal trainer, all of that.
The economy just doesn't work long term. Yeah. And as soon as you remove KSI, like Newcastle, for example, and no disrespect to Misfits, but there's 2,000 people there, and there's probably a not huge amount of people watching it online. But people like Aaron Chalmers, FaZe Temper, etc., all need paying quite a lot of money to do it. But even that money is not enough for what they would earn in their day job.
Yeah, interesting.
So it just all doesn't link up, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's fascinating hearing that, actually, like the different ways in which they can make money. But I imagine that for a lot of them, like you say, it is a passion project, and they've seen what KSI and Logan have done. It's probably inspired a lot of others to go into boxing. I wanted to get your take on the perception of YouTube boxing from the wider boxing community, because what's interesting about this is you are a massive boxing fan, aren't you? And you're obviously a massive fan of YouTube because you look after them. You would have seen the reaction initially from the pros, the boxing community, and a lot of them are fans of it now, it has to be said. You mentioned Derek Chisora, who goes to a lot of these fights. I heard him talking about KSI versus Tommy Fury on the radio the other day as an example. So there are a lot that are pro it. I'm massively pro YouTube boxing, just from a respect point of view in terms of where it's come from in such a short space of time. But what is your perception of from the wider boxing community that disagree with what YouTube boxing is trying to do?
So, I mean, I am, for all intents and purposes, a boxing purist. We sponsor a local boxer, a professional boxer, and I always, when we started this off, the head guards, the 16-ounce gloves, the everything, I saw it as a form of entertainment, white-collar boxing. And it's kind of evolved now into they are training like professionals. And it's become a bit more serious. Misfits are doing well in kind of bringing it back, like the tag team and kind of stuff like that, and trying to give it its own twist and mystery opponents and stuff like that. But what nobody can argue with is there will be hundreds of thousands of kids around the world taking up boxing because of Misfits, because of Kingpin, because of what we did with KSI v Logan and all of this, that. So there is a positive at the end of it. Some things I still don't agree with. I'd still have them in headgear, or I'd have them with heavier gloves.
For every fight,
unless they've got a professional license. I mean, I know that amateur boxers, I believe, now have removed headgear, but again, I'm assuming they would have heavier gloves. So there's some safety things that I would that I would change. But on the whole, the main thing is it's bringing people into the sport. Yeah,
and of course, what that does, a lot of boxers, I speak to a lot of ex-boxers that say, actually, by bringing people into the sport, you're giving them a purpose, you're taking them, you're giving them a positive route. It's the mental,
social benefits,
mental, physical, social benefits, exactly that. So with someone like Jake Paul, then, like, how good do you think Jake Paul is as a boxer, and how good can he become? Because a lot of these YouTubers are talking about becoming pro. So what is your thoughts on? Let's stick with Jake Paul. How good is he and can he be as a boxer?
So I think anyone could look good on the pads.
Right.
And he does look good on the pads. He looks good when he's doing his drills.
To be fair, I've been on pads. I don't look good on pads. I've tried it.
I'll say anyone.
Most people.
I probably don't. Look, he is a very good amateur boxer. And he would beat the pro journeymen. But if you know about boxing, the journeymen, most people would beat the journeymen. They are effectively punch bags, for want of a better word. He couldn't beat Tommy Fury. Tommy Fury, at best, will get to British level, and he's nowhere near that at the moment. You're not going to see Tommy Fury fighting for European belts, fighting for world titles, or anything like that. And Tommy Fury beat him. So he's good, but again, I think the way that the boxing's gone now, where when we were doing it, we had FIFA Momo doing Fortnite dances in the middle of the ring while he's in the middle of a fight and stuff. It was a bit of a... Yeah. We had two twins, one of them who works for Upload now, fighting each other and stuff. And it was very clear that whilst the beef between JJ and Logan, or JJ and Weller, was real, it was an entertainment product, and they weren't trying to be, with the exception of JJ and Logan, I guess, weren't trying to be boxers. But that's only because JJ and Logan can't do anything other than try and be the very best at everything.
So levels to it, you're saying?
Yeah. Whereas now, I guess it's kind of turned into this professional boxing. Everyone's training like professionals, trying to be professionals. And I think what Misfits are doing with some of the kind of comedy style of the tag team and that, it just kind of brings it back a bit, because...
Is it more like sort of WWE, sort of more an entertainment with that, do you think, rather than...
That's exactly what it should be, an entertainment product, because otherwise it becomes a sub-prime, excuse the pun, version of professional boxing.
Yeah, interesting, I love WWE, by the way, so there's nothing wrong with that. I'm a massive fan of WWE.
See, I can't get that.
Back in the day.
Yeah, I'm too much... I can't see behind... I can't see past WWE, and even as a kid, and I can't see behind it not being real.
We'll have to disagree on that because of the entertainment, though. But I'm in it for the entertainment, The Rock and all that, and Stone Cold loved it. Let's look ahead. KSI v Tommy Fury, big fight. How do you see it going? You gave us a brief prediction earlier, but go on.
I genuinely think that KSI wins, but that's from 10 years of working really closely with JJ. He just doesn't lose.
Yeah.
He just doesn't lose.
He doesn't lose anything, does he? No.
And he never has. And do you know what? Even if he does lose, he doesn't lose because he's made a fortune. And I'm sure the Jake Paul fight will happen anyway, regardless. And because,
will it? Go on. You're in the know here. KSI v Jake Paul. That's going to happen in the future, is it?
I think it will. Although JJ has made sounds that it would be quite funny just to leave Jake hanging. If he beats Tommy Fury, then... And not give Jake that... He doesn't need to prove he's better than Jake because he's beat Tommy, Jake hasn't.
Yeah.
It'd be quite funny just to leave Jake hanging, and Jake's kind of bounced around, and Jake's not made anywhere near the money that he shouts about from his boxing. So Jake needs to fight with JJ more than JJ needs to fight with Jake. So it would be quite funny just to leave him hanging. But I think it happens, and that's just personal opinion. I'm not. What I have done is I try to stay away. I'm not even going to the fight, just purely on a. We've done our bit, and I'm just an onlooker now, and I enjoy being a fan and watching it, and watching JJ. But yeah, I think JJ beats him.
I think he's got a great chance as well. Actually, just from that. Being around him, having that drive, that work ethic, which I'm sure Tommy has as well, to be fair. But Tommy would be favourite going into that is what I'm saying. And going back to your earlier answer, you were talking about levels and saying how Jake Paul is a very good amateur fighter, but lost to Tommy Fury. So it's interesting you think KSI still beats Tommy Fury purely because of the person that you know and the work that he's put into it behind the scenes.
Yeah. You just can't. You can't ever doubt JJ. He's proven it again and again and again and again. And I'm sure he'll. But I kind of feel as though I'd want him to have the Jake fight and knock Jake out. No rematch or anything. Just
one fight.
There, one fight.
Is that a knockout for you? Prediction for how that fight goes? So you're saying KSI, Tommy Fury, KSI takes it.
Yeah.
How does he win that? Stoppage.
I think it'll probably go the distance.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd love to see him knock him out. It would be great. But
and then if he does fight Jake Paul, how does that fight go for you?
Again, I think JJ wins. I think mentally, JJ is much stronger than Jake. And I think already it's kind of shown in a few things that have happened. JJ will get into Jake's head, and the Jake that walks into that ring is going to be nervous. JJ will not be nervous. He has so much belief in himself and his own ability. When no matter where he is, once he steps aside that ring, he'll be 100% confident in his ability. And if only 90% of Jake believes in himself inside that ring, he's getting knocked out.
And mate, I want to say credit to you for your hand in. I hope we got a sense of actually how important and influential you have been in creating YouTube Boxing and what it's done, because you're very honest guy, but you don't give yourself a lot of praise. I think you should give yourself a lot of praise for what you've started. KSI with Tommy Fury should be a great fight. Your team KSI, I know you'll be watching it nervously, I know, even though you're not there. So
it goes back to being not being able to watch the first two fights. I'm still going to be like a nervous. I was about to say nervous mum there.
Yeah, but a nervous relative. I know what you mean.
Yeah.
You've got to stay.
Yeah, so I'll be watching on. But like I say, I think he's got it in the bag.
Mate, brilliant. Love that. Great to have you on the pod, and you'll be back on again soon. Look forward to it.